It's that time of week. Who's in and who's out for UCF and Cincinnati when these two teams face off on Saturday?
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of every single day. Turn us up, turn us on, we'll turn it out. I'm here with my good friend, James Duncan, UCF sports commentator extraordinaire, to talk a little UCF football here on a Wednesday night. On today's show, we're going to talk about that injury report. It just released. We're getting it in as soon as it releases. That's why we're releasing so late. If a certain person on that injury report cannot go, what are the Knights' prospects? And then we'll talk about how these two teams match up here to close the show. Let's start at the top here, James. The injury report has been released. As you know, every single Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, the Big 12 teams release their injury report. We're going to see who's on it. Let's start with Cincinnati here. Out for the Bearcats is Zay Johnson, wide receiver Cale Woodburn, linebacker Terrell Holcomb, D-lineman Cam Rutherford, a linebacker Quinn Staton, linebacker Ronan Casanova, wide receiver Nash Biglin, and a D-lineman Drew Logan and Nathan Nunn. Now, no significant snaps there. These guys on the questionable and probable list have played significant snaps. That's cornerback Monty Arnold, and then probable Evan Pryor and Gavin Gerhardt, again, all playing significant snaps here. Jumping to the UCF side, out for the Knights, Horace Lockett, a guy we've talked about a lot. Caden Peening, the freshman tight end. Jaden Williams, again, man, they're missing him. Great defensive back for UCF. And then at edge, number 44, Josh, out. Before we get to, let's go ahead and jump to the questionable list. Questionable, Dylan Wade, Taven Jackson, Jakuri Brown, our guy, Jacob Good, Rodney Laura at D-tackle, all questionable, and then probable, number 0, Kelly Lawson. I'm going to jump back here to the out list. Talk to me, James. Talk to me about these guys being out again for another week in a row.
Yeah, I mean, Horace Lockett, you felt the difference in that Kansas game of getting less pressure and getting less contain, and obviously you had some runs that kind of gashed you there in that game, and you felt like you were missing Horace Lockett there. That combining with the questionable Rodney Laura means your too deep for defensive tackle is gone. You're obviously, you're starting RJ Jackson and you have John Walker up front, but then your too deep was Horace Lockett and Rodney Laura, who were taking just as many snaps as your starters, as John Walker and RJ Jackson. Now those guys are potentially not in your lineup anymore. Horace for sure. Rodney, you don't know. That's a big impact on this defense and your ability to get pressure against a quarterback that has 12 touchdowns and 1 interception on the year. So, that's going to be interesting to watch. Also on this out list is Caden Peening, who's been battling injuries since the beginning of this year. He's been on the questionable and then on the out and on the questionable, and he's been kind of back and forth, but played definitely a meaningful snaps here for the UCF Knights. Definitely missing that tight end position with him and Dylan Wade both kind of being on the questionable and out list. And then obviously Jaden Williams, you're really missing Jaden Williams if you're DBs here. Everything, depth is everything in the Big 12, and depth is everything in college football and in football in general. You need guys to step up, and when it gets to this point in the season and your team is now 80% of what they were to start the season in terms of health, things aren't looking great for the Knights. Now, if we go to that questionable list, Mike, can we see that questionable list? We've got Dylan Wade, Obviously, that he played last go around. Probably re-aggravated some stuff. He played a little bit and then came off. Played a little bit, came off. Obviously, there's the two names in the middle that I want to go back and forth with you about. But Jacob Good is a young guy. He'll bounce back, and obviously we already talked about Rodney Laura. Kelly, I'm hearing good things. I'm sure he'll come back.
Yeah, look. Again, in our second segment, we'll talk a little bit more about the two guys in the middle. But Dylan Wade hurts, right? And Rodney Laura certainly hurts. It's just. You're not deep enough yet. You're just not deep enough yet to have these sorts of players out and questionable and expect to win football games. So you're one. It feels like UCF one injury away from disaster at times. James, you fix this through time and recruiting, certainly. But if you're Scott Frost, that's the job. You've got to scheme around this. You've got to find out a game, but you got to get guys ready, and you've got to get your guys to understand that, hey, man, you're one name away from someone else ending up on this list and you being the guy.
Yeah.
So having your guys in a state of readiness and preparedness is super important, underrated task for every single college football coaching staff. Yeah, you may be the backup today, but and a quarterback as well too, right? One injury away, man. You're one blown knee away, one freak turf toe away from being the guy that has to go in there and save the day.
Yeah, and that has been ever present with the UCF Knights the past couple of years. Rotating. Like I said, I can't remember a season where we haven't had more than two quarterbacks playing for us. So it's. Throughout the entire Gus tenure, we had multiple quarterbacks. Throughout the now new Scott Frost season, we've already had, I believe, 4 quarterbacks take snaps for the UCF Knights because Davi got in at the end of the game against, I believe, NCA&T. So, definitely not great that you have that many guys playing. Obviously, you want to get guys snaps, and Scott even in his presser this week said that he wants to get more guys in at these wide receiver spots because at the end of the game, a guy that's played 70 snaps versus a guy that's played 40 snaps is going to have a lot more speed and a lot more energy left in him to make those plays, which is why you kind of saw Carl Jenkins get in at the end of last game. Or throughout the game, you saw Chris Delmercant get in throughout the game. I think it's good that you're rotating guys there, but now that you don't have as much depth at the D line, O line, those situations are going to hurt you for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Look, one thing that's definitely going to hurt you here is if these two QBs are that are questionable end up being out. So on our next segment, we'll talk about the possibility of Taven Jackson and possibly Jakuri Brown not being available for Scott Frost. What will that do to their chances in that game? We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCF. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply just move. They deliver confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Plus awards than anyone else as of August of 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. Like UCF players sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode of Locked On UCF is also brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money, guys. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have a full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. Always a bad thing. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. What if Taven can't go? What if he is not available in this game? I have said it before. I'll say it again. This team goes as quarterback goes, James. And when Cam Fancher got in the game, he made some amazing plays, but they felt off schedule and they felt very boom or busty. And the exception and not the rule with him kind of running around like he was when he got in the game on last Saturday. You said you had some comments about how you perceive Taven Jackson that I want you to share. Because I feel the same way. I feel like Taven is playing quarterback and better than the others. I think he's actually playing quarterback rather than just being at quarterback.
Yeah, when you watch Taven, it's something that if you watched his early Indiana film, you didn't see, but then some later Indiana film you got to see, and then also if you like watch spring practice or that kind of thing, you got to see him kind of slowly learning this, and I think that this is a lot due to McKenzie Milton. But you got to see someone, and you get to see someone that goes through their progressions and then makes a decision. I know we kind of harped on the fact that there wasn't really any deep balls thrown for a large majority of last game.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it wasn't there, and if it was there, he had thrown it before and he had overthrown it. And so he was maybe throwing 4, 5, 6 yard check downs or slants or drags or whatever, but a lot of times they were getting where they needed to be, or at least early in the game. And with the other two quarterbacks, you get a one read, and if it's not there, panic starts to set in, and it's really, really hard to scheme open 3 wide receivers and make the quarterback look at just one of them, and that has to be open when the quarterback is looking at them. And especially for some of these longer route trees from Marcus Burke or Wade and Charles, those guys are going to see the ball less because they don't have as much time and to actually get open. And so that's why you see Dwayne Thomas get the ball a lot. Because one, they don't have time for people to get open because of the pass protection, but also because if Cam or Jacurri is in, those guys are going to get the ball when they are running shorter route trees, and most of the time that is Dwayne Thomas, who's running a slant, who's running a check down, who's running a jet sweep, those sort of things. So if you watch Cam Jackson Cam Jackson, if you watch Cam Fancher and you are a UCF fan, you'll see eerie similarities to Timmy McClain, who, like, let's face it, he has one of the most famous UCF plays of all time with the huge escape and the chuck down to RJ Harvey at the end of the Baylor game. One of the most widely watched clips on the internet from UCF. But unfortunately, it felt like every play that he made that was good felt like a miracle that it happened. And when you watch your quarterback, successes shouldn't feel like an answer from God. They should feel like they were designed to happen. And when Taven's leading the pack there, you don't feel like that. You feel like things are going the way that they should be, and rather not that it's just happening because of some gracious miracle.
Yeah, I just don't think you open up your offense with Cam Fancher at quarterback. And I think Taven allows you to run more of your playbook. for a guy who will at least try to hang in the pocket, go through some progressions, and find the right read. Now, could he be faster at finding the right read? Sure. Right. I think some of those are sacks attributed to him just holding on to the ball a little bit too long. But he does fairly good on the run, rolling out to his right. And he's got some things about his game that really click for me when I watch him play. And we thought he would win the job in camp. When he didn't win it, I was a little surprised, and maybe the coaches saw that supreme athleticism from Cam Fancher and thought, we need that if we're going to be off schedule, a guy who can create. But you also need a guy who can hang in there. And there's something, I had a buddy I went to school with, James, that played with Michael Vick in Philadelphia. And he used to talk about what it was like. He played left tackle, and he talked about what it was like trying to block for Vick when he would take off running. And he was like, yeah, he does some great things, man, but man, he's hard to block for. Because he's all over the place, and we're getting holding calls trying to keep up with Mike rolling out of the pocket and doing crazy things. And it is an offensive lineman's worst nightmare sometimes. A guy who just won't sit in a pocket and allow you to block the way you're supposed to block. So I like Taven's. I think Taven helps this O-line somewhat. I think Cam does not as much. But ultimately, you got to win football games here. You need more than one guy that can do the job. It's just crazy to me how different the offense looks to me when Cam Fancher is in versus Taven Jackson.
Yeah, and I think you even to push that envelope further, you see that more when Jacurri comes into the game, how much the offense changes. And if Taven is not ready to go, but Jacurri's ready to go, I think it'd be interesting to see whether or not they use Cam or whether they go to Jacurri. Obviously, last time they went to Jacurri, that felt more like, to me, that they were going with Jacurri because Cam had been running with the threes and there wasn't as much comfortability with the two deep. I feel like this week you probably see Cam in practice more running with the ones and the twos, depending on Taven and Jacurri's health. Obviously, you probably felt like you missed Jacurri last game on that second and goal, third and goal, then fourth and goal and one. You felt like probably if you had Jakuri Brown in the game that he would have gotten you the TD there to tie things up. And obviously Jacurri is an unbelievably agile QB. Great to have situationally. I think he's the third leading rusher on this team, despite having missed a full game. I think in terms of running backs, and this is kind of crazy, you have Myles, Jaden, your three QBs, and then your third string running back in Stacey Gage. Would like to see him used more. But yeah, if Taven can't go, you have to make a really big decision on how you want to run your offense. And if neither Taven and Jacurri can go, then you have to pray that Cam doesn't get hurt, because then Davi Belfort is in the game. And I think as great as Davi is, he's a raw prospect. He needs a lot of learning. He's a phenomenal talent. Don't get me wrong. This kid has great film, but it's not like he's ready to go in a Big 12 conference game against a 4-1 team.
Yeah, look, you were right. Jakuri Brown, the third rusher on this team behind Montgomery and Nixon, with 142 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. That's 8.9 yards per carry that you're missing here if he can't go. It does, even regardless of whether Taven's healthy or not, he is a change-up dynamic that you just use as a weapon regardless of how the other quarterbacks are doing. So not having him takes an element away from this offense, I think, that they're going to need down the stretch. Going to keep an eye on that. I think in the press conference this week, Scott Frost described both QBs on the questionable list as game time decisions. So if they're game time decisions, I promise you at least one of them is going to be able to go. Yeah. And the one that's the most hurt, they'll probably try to save. But if Cam Fancher, for some reason, gets to start and plays bad, the breaking case of emergency glass will definitely be broken. Look, we got to match these two teams up here. Yeah, we kind of already hinted at our thoughts about how this one might go, but I want to make sure that we formalize those thoughts. We'll do that next on Locked On UCF. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually put you get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football, guys. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 off in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 off in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Matching up Cincy and UCF here. By the numbers, this is a game UCF should lose. ESPN's matchup predictor giving UCF only a 30.2% chance to win this game. They've been pretty accurate, I think, all year on the chances for these both teams. We mentioned the spread opened at 13.5. It's closed down to 10.5. But the over-under at 53.5 points, I believe it opened at 56.5. So it came down a little bit, but that tells me that they expect a game in the high 20s potentially for the winning team, which would be Cincinnati, and UCF may be struggling to hold those guys under 30 points. What do you think here? Is this accurate? At 13.5, I liked Cincinnati to win, but not to cover. I don't know if I like them still to cover at 10.5. I think the game might be a little closer than a lot of people think. But, I for the first time this year, I'm picking the other team. I'm picking Cincinnati to win this game.
Yeah, and I don't think most UCF fans are going to disagree with you. I think it's definitely a stab in the heart, considering these guys are considered your in conference rivals. Most UCF fans and Cincy fans don't like each other. I think what hurts you here is that you feel like your defense has been prepared pretty well in terms of what they've faced on offense. Like, they faced a decent offense in Kansas State. They faced a pretty solid offense in Kansas. Now you're going to Cincinnati. This Kansas-Cincinnati game was super close, with Cincinnati barely squeaking it out. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. And I still think that Cincy wins this game, but doesn't cover even at 10.5.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot closer of a game than people think. Would I absolutely love a UCF win here? Of course. Would I give my proper thought in saying UCF's going to go out and win this game? No, I don't. I think I'd be fibbing. Do I think it can happen, Mike?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I think
100%. I think it can happen. I think we have the facilities to beat this team. I think if a lot of things go right and things get figured out in terms of decision making and play calling and effort, and like guys want to go out there and they are motivated to win. This is a Myles Montgomery revenge game against his old team. Like, Myles just had a great game. Imagine what he can do against his former team. This is an opportunity for us to have a story here for Myles. I think you can go out and win this game. I would not be surprised if the UCF Knights went and won this game. But I wouldn't be telling the truth in terms of my opinion that I think that we are the majority favorite winners.
Yeah, look, the difference possibly or definitely being quarterback play. Don't know. You mentioned this off camera, so if I'm repeating this, forgive me. But Brendan Sorsby, 12 touchdowns to only 1 interception so far this year. He has been good. And that goodness is something that helps you. when you have solid quarterback play, this is a quarterback's game here at college football. I think that's what gives them the edge up on UCF in this game is they've got their guy at quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12 this year, if not the best. And he's playing at an insane rate. He's protecting the football, right? Yeah. He's not throwing, he's not out here throwing interceptions. He's protecting the football. And so you've got to like what you're seeing there. If you're Cincinnati now, he's completing his balls in the mid 60s. He's at 65.9%. So he's got 87 completions against 132 attempts. Not bad. However, he is managing the game well for Cincinnati. And if anything, I don't think he's going to be the reason they lose it. Like, he's not going to be a reason they go out. He makes a mistake that loses them the game. And if they play solid football, I think they believe they'll win. The game is in their house. I expect that they'll play well in their house. And if you're UCF, if you, for some reason, can go and get a tough road win, it'll be because you were able to limit Brendan Sorsby enough. And your defense is creating opportunity, short fields for your offense to go out and score. So if UCF finds themselves in a lot of situations where they have to drive 80 yards for touchdowns, I don't like them in this one. The defense is going to have to show up, create turnovers where not a lot have existed for Cincinnati so far this year, and try to give your offense a short field to work with. Final thoughts on this one, my friend. I want to save the actual predictions for the pregame show, but talk to me, man, about Cincinnati here midweek. Again, they're not missing anybody significant on the injury report. They're fairly healthy as far as their starters are concerned, and they should be a Big 12 contender here come late November.
Yeah, there's some a few players that I want to highlight over at Cincinnati. Obviously, we talked about Brendan Sorsby, the guy's playing lights out. Having an elite QB in college football is just such an unbelievable commodity. And then Tawi Walker here at running back. Their RB2, Evan Pryor is listed on the probable list, so I would expect to obviously see him get snaps this game. Yeah. But he's playing pretty solid as well. He's averaging 5.5 yards a carry. He's got 3 TDs on the year. Their two-back is averaging 9.1 yards a carry. That's a lot. That's basically what you're seeing with Myles and Jaden. You have a guy that's very consistent, and then you have a guy that's very explosive. Now, I'm not saying Myles isn't explosive. Obviously, he's explosive. But you know, this two-back with his longest run is 46 yards. Obviously, that's not as big as Jaden's, but you know, you have the same kind of dynamic back there. Receiving, watch out for Caleb Goody. This guy's all over the field making big plays. And then I do want to mention this because this guy's also playing lights out this year. Jake Golday, he's just like stocky linebacker. He is leading the team in tackles and I believe sacks as well. If not, he's tied for the team lead in sacks. The kid is flying around the field. He is Cincinnati's version of Lewis Carter, except he hasn't missed any time. So his stats have been racking up. The guy is an absolute ball hound. Wherever the ball is, that is where he is going. UCF fans, if you remember like Jason Johnson from 1 or 2 years ago, very similar kind of style tackler to that, just flocks to the ball. This is going to be the toughest matchup UCF has seen so far. It being at Nippert, noon. Just a tough environment for these guys to be going into. I really hope that UCF gets up for this one.
I do too, as well. Look, it's going to be fun to watch on Saturday. As I mentioned, it's an away game for UCF. So can Scott Frost and company find a tough road win in the Big 12? We'll see on Saturday. And as always, we have a pregame show that we release. But you and I will be with the good folks after the game to talk about what happened live. Can't wait for that one. It's a 12. We got 12 Eastern kickoff, I think, on Saturday. The game is early. I like getting it out of the way early. for sure, especially one like this. Maybe UCF can take advantage of the early kick, catch Cincinnati a little off guard. We'll see any edge they can get. We will take here. Either way, we'll be back to talk about it. James, I want to thank you for joining me today. Guys, it's another big moment on Locked On. Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, a college preview that only Locked On can do. Locked On Big 12 host Drake Toll leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local expert. A Locked On college football preview only Locked On can do. You can catch Locked On college football kickoff every single Thursday throughout the season. You can catch us here tomorrow on Locked On UCF.